Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. Let me know how you're feeling in the comments, and I'll just wait for you to come on. All the early birds are popping on already. So my name's Claire Perry-Louise, and I'm an internet business school coach, amongst other things. I've been with the Internet Business School for maybe 9 years now, I think. It's been quite a long time. And then I've gone on and done my own thing, help businesses build community and work with Facebook and done speaking around the world. So I've done loads of things. So it's been really exciting few years. And prior to that, I was a solicitor. So a little bit different. So yeah, just let me know in the chat where you're coming in from, how you're feeling. It'd be nice to see you and hear from you. Today we are talking about generating high quality leads for your business without spending any money. So that's what we're going to be talking about there. Hi, Amir, nice to see you. Edward, hello. Thank you for saying hello. I was like, no one's speaking. But where are you all? Are you coming from London, Cassie? It's nice. Neville from Newmarket. I love this. I love the rhyming. I think we did this last time, didn't we? The rhyming. It was good. Jerry's back. I recognise you, Jerry. Well done. Nice to be back. Hello, David. We've got loads of people. And Lorna. It's going quick now. You're all getting like revved up. I can't keep up. There's so many. Mike in Ashford. So you're in Simon's neck of the woods. Excellent. Well, thank you for popping on this morning. So you've got me first for the next 45 minutes or so talking about generating leads for your business. And then we have Dr. Hemmel, who is known apparently as the scientist. And he's going to share the strategy he's used to scale online course funnels using YouTube ads without breaking the budget. So this session today is really about not spending lots of money, which I think is always going to be a good thing. So I'm going to get started. Hello from the Netherlands. Woohoo, we're international. This is great. So I'm going to get started and we're going to go get my voice back. So let's see. My slides are just sticking. There you go. So if you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner or you're someone's spouse or you're a friend or a speaker or human. So I think we're all humans on this webinar today. So there's one thing that's important for all of us, and that is, and we definitely need to be better at it, and that is building relationships. So every single day, if you think about it, it's all around building relationships. So just now, when we started the webinar, I tried to give you a little bit of background about me so you could get to know me a bit better if you don't know me. If you've been on one of these webinars before, you will know me. But that's what it's like. And that's like when you meet someone for the first time, you're looking for commonalities so you can start building that relationship. Because every decision we make as a human is based and is values driven. So we connect with people who share similar values to ourselves. So, and because every day is about choices, like where are we going to buy, who are we going to buy from, and where will we spend our money, and who do we want to do business with, we need to know as business owners and as consumers, what are those factors being chosen around? So what makes us make those decisions? So if you think about these brands here, so we've got Starbucks coffee, Virgin, McDonald's. Now you'd probably go for a Starbucks because you recognise the brand as opposed to somebody just selling them on the street, because you feel like you might, you trust the brand because you've built brand awareness. You also, McDonald's, wherever you see McDonald's, you're going to get what you're going to get in any McDonald's around the world. And that, because we feel familiar with that brand, that's why we go and choose that brand. So the other thing that we do is not only do we look at the values, so the values are the things that stand for something in a brand. So for example, Virgin is known for being fun, and Ryanair, for example, it's cheap and no frills, that kind of thing. So if you're going to fly, you might choose Virgin if you wanted a more comfortable flight. If you're going on a long haul flight, but you might go for Ryanair if you're just going on a short haul destination, because it's more about the price. That's the more of the issue, not the other things around that brand. And that said, the other thing that is so important, so we've got this brand awareness point, and this is where you can play this into your life and your business relationships, is we choose based on how much of a relationship we have with the brand. So for example, Amazon, now they created a membership product. So if you're here and you're thinking about, you'd like to set up a membership site, for example, if we look at Amazon as a brand, what they did is they introduced Amazon Prime. Now, Amazon Prime is not there to make them the £77 a month that you get, that they £77 a year that they get from you. It's about creating an ongoing relationship. So when you want to buy something, your first choice is Amazon, because you get the free delivery. They give you extra perks, so you get Amazon Prime, you get Kindle reductions or free Kindle books, all those kind of things that they offer you. And that keeps that relationship going. Netflix, for example, another example, it's a subscription service. And Airbnb, a concept that seems really far out, but actually, you know, the fact that you rent out your house to a complete stranger works, because in the middle they build relationships between the homeowner and the business owners, well, the homeowner and the people who want to go on holiday in these homes through community, and they build those relationships. So Airbnb, the website's in the middle, and that's the place where the relationships are built between the two people involved in the transaction. So the person needing accommodation and the person going on putting out their property to complete strangers, which is really does seem like a strange concept. So this is the big question for all of us, and whether we are working from the point of view of being an entrepreneur, or if we want to do affiliate marketing. So you probably learned in one of these webinars about affiliate marketing and how you can send people to products that you haven't created and earn money from there. But what you need to do in those cases is you need to generate warm leads. So you need to find people who want to purchase from you. And people will want to purchase from you where you have built a relationship with them over time. So yes, you can extend your audience by doing advertising and doing Facebook ads and Google ads and all those kinds of things. But if you think about how you do business in your life, or if you need a new service, so if you need to take your car to the garage, where would you go? And if you didn't know where to go, you'd probably ask for a recommendation from a friend. And that's why it's super, super important. So relationships are right at the core of everything. And this is something that building relationships, it doesn't have to cost you money, but it doesn't work immediately. Because you think, okay, it's simple. I just need to do relationships. But you need to remember that relationships are not always equal. So short-term relationships. So this is the icon for Tinder app. If anyone's ever used Tinder app, I've never used Tinder app. It sounds far too scary. But you go on Tinder, you can flick through and find someone to go on a date with, probably within the hour. So this is an example of a short-term relationship. So you get instant gratification. So you quickly find someone to go on a date with. It probably over-delivers because the profile picture probably doesn't look like the person. And then you meet them, and so there's that feeling of it's underperformed. And there's so little trust in that relationship, and it's short-term. So that might be an example of where if you bought something through an ad because it just prompted you, or it spoke to something within you that made you fear that if you didn't take this action, your life would be much worse. Well, after you've had that initial high of buying it all, that buying the dream and all those kinds of aspects, once that's happened, you're like, oh, and then you get that deflation afterwards. So it's a very short-term relationship. Now, in comparison, if you're looking for long-term relationships, so eHarmony or Match.com, they seek to have a deeper understanding of the people who sign up. So if you sign up for one of those sites, you have to fill out questionnaires and say what your interests are and all those kind of things. So there's a real opportunity there to share your values. And that's what I was talking about. So values are, so if this morning you got up and you went for a walk and then you had a green juice and you're having a salad for lunch, you can tell from your actions that one of your values is health and well-being, because it shows up. So if you think about yourself as a tree and you look at all your branches, you can see what branches what are your values. So if you've taken time out today for your family, it shows that you value family. So there's a few examples of where long-term relationships work, because things that you value more, you will build much more over time. So, and it builds connection and it builds trust. So that's the difference. I guess the question is, how does this relate to business? So why is it important to us? And that's really what I want to talk to you about in this next half hour. So we are in a relationship economy at the moment. So like the Amazon, the Airbnb, Apple's all about community and tribe. And are you an Apple user or are you a PC user? And in fact, their whole advertising campaign has been at times based around that premise, like, are you in the club and are you not? But if you are a business owner, you need to appreciate that if you're not innovating in your business, then you won't exist in the future. And this is why it's important. Like for this morning, like everybody who's on this webinar, you are on a webinar that's going to help you grow as an individual. So something will be said today. It could be one sentence, but it will trigger you in some way, and it will shift what actions you take. You might go and pick a new book up that you wouldn't have done if you'd attended today. So you are innovating and growing every day, and that's super important as an entrepreneur and as a business owner. So there's 88% of Fortune 500 companies that existed in 1955 are now gone. It's complete, the landscape is changing so quickly. And as Charles Darwin said, it's the most adaptable, it's not the strongest that survive, it's the ones that are most adaptable. So I think you need to know this as well, especially if you're in this world of wanting to make money online. It is about looking at the trends. And if you've done any work with Simon or been on his diploma course, then you will learn from him about how he looks out for new opportunities and how he takes those opportunities and how he capitalizes on them quickly. And that's how he's got a lot of his successes, by seeing opportunities and taking them and taking action on them. So these are some examples of some businesses that didn't innovate. So Blockbuster, they actually laughed Netflix out of the door when they came to approach them about, their idea of doing on-demand and subscription. Now, that's never going to work. But now, Blockbuster, you go in and hire your video and take it back, it's gone. Kodak, again, they didn't get the digital revolution, all the things that happened around digital. In fact, they had looked in it, but they didn't continue going forward with that, because they thought, if we move into digital, it will ruin our business. But so, putting your head in the sand isn't necessarily a good way to go forward. And then there's Toys R Us. So they actually partnered with Amazon early on. And then Amazon saw it was a really good business model, and then obviously took it out, and now Toys R Us are gone as well. So as individuals, we can learn a lot about how these companies, influence our choices as a consumer and how we make buying decisions. So subscription, it creates a relationship, and it means that time doesn't go by without you doing a purchase. So I just purchased some coffee and they gave me a discount if I put it onto a subscription. And so I did, because I'm using the coffee and so it works well for me, but it means that I don't go and pick up a bag elsewhere, because I already have a relationship that I'm building with them. On top of that, they deliver it. I ordered some yesterday and it just arrived. So they have good customer service as well. So these are the things that make you stay with businesses and are really important. And reviews are super important as well. So we always make buying decisions after reading reviews. And so it's important we think about this. As an entrepreneur, if you're working with somebody, get them to recommend you, or ask if they will give you a recommendation or a review, because that helps the next person build trust with you and then agree to come and work with you, because they see that other people have been on the journey before them. Tribe is my thing around, and Nespresso as well, exactly, JD. So tribe is super important. This is my thing. Community building. It's about building community. Isn't about having 30,000 people on Instagram. That could be just an audience. Community is where people have a shared identity. So marathon runners or dog owners, something like that, yoga, people who practice yoga, that kind of thing, and where they feel that sense of belonging, the fact that you do something for somebody else within the tribe, regardless of what leadership's saying. And tribe builds connection, and it's a way that we work as humans, so it's really, really important. And Airbnb as well, building trust-through relationships, like I was just explaining. So this is going to be a real life example, and seeing how this really relates to me. So I've only got the length of this presentation, but if you were watching this, I would really encourage you to do this in your businesses, use social media, because you can have real impact if you put these things in place, and it's not going to cost you money, but it will generate you leads. So when you first meet someone, so in this example, we're using me, so you've got questions. So if it's meeting me, or it's somebody who comes across you or your brand. So say you're a new entrepreneur and you want to start getting coaching clients. People want to know things like, who is she? You might know me as, how do you know me? Do you know me as an internet business coach? Do you not know me? What does she do? What do I do? Like, you want to know, because if I just spent my time and I was a data analyst, and then I just popped on this webinar, you wouldn't trust me, because you think, well, she hasn't had these experiences. But everything I'm telling you, I've experienced myself, and so that puts you ahead and makes people think, okay, she might be somebody I can take advice from. So you want to know, can you trust me? What's my expertise? And then you look at, and this is really important for each of you, whatever it is you're trying to do and why you showed up today, it's like, who else vouches for you? So who's in the circle? Who have I worked with who has probably got credibility in their space? Maybe they've written books, maybe they are known in their circles, or highly respected entrepreneurs, those kind of things. Like, if those kind of people can vouch for you, it is going to immediately elevate your game and make people think, okay, well, if they trust you, if they're going to put trust in you, then she must do what she says, and she must be a good person to work with. So in your own life, like, who have you worked with, and how can you highlight not only their work, but the fact that you've worked with them? And then you want to know how you can get to know the person more. So and I'll talk about ways to do that, but generally it's through social media, and it's also through building a profile. And you probably ought to know what I'm doing in that pool. So that was in Palm Springs, so that was fun. Anyway, so this is me. So as I said at the beginning of the presentation, I was a solicitor. I went on Simon's 3-day course, his diploma course, and I became an entrepreneur. So, and if you are moving yourself into this space, like, presentations are a really good way to communicate things that you've done in your life and show people, so they've got that visual, that visual thing to apply to. So I've been doing this a lot in my business as well, like with proposals for that, creating a deck, and it's really easy then to visualize what you can offer people. And you can use a tool like canva.com, which is free to use and has lots of nice templates, so you can create really great visuals. So in 2013, I published a book, and on membership sites, and that I sold. It's sort of out of date now because I've moved on quite a lot. But at the time, I sold that to lots of people, and that got my name out there. And on the right, you can see that I was at an event that was one of Simon's diploma courses, speaking about membership sites. People were buying my book, and it was building that profile that's really, really important. Robert says, how do you start before you have any recommendations? Well, if you don't have any recommendations, if you're just starting out, you want to offer yourself for free to people in exchange for a recommendation. So you say, can I give you a coaching call, and I'd like you to give me an honest recommendation. There's no charge for that, but if you give me a recommendation, I'd be really grateful. So you want to do that for about 3 or 4 people, because it gives you experience and it gets people out there you know, you get experience and then you get some recommendations. So that's the quickest way to do that early on. And then it'll build from there. So other things I've done, you know, I started a podcast, and again, that's connected with me with people from around the world, because people can listen to that through the various platforms, through Apple, etc., etc. So that again is another way to build for free. You can set up a podcast. You could use something like Anchor.fm, which does all the hard work for you, sends it out to the directories and that kind of thing. So, you know, if you want to listen to it on Spotify, it will send it out to all the directories. But again, it's a great way to build profile and to share your expertise. So, you know, like put out what's important to you and start talking about, you know, your expertise or experiences you've had, and start reaching and growing that audience and building those relationships. So if you think about what I was saying early on, it's, you know, it's not short-term Tinder, it's long-term. And these things, you don't build a big following overnight, but it's about connecting with people who share your same values, because they're the people who are going to resonate with your message a lot more. So do partnerships as well, and you know, put yourself forward. You need to do speaking. So I did that really early on with Simon, and the first I spoke at one of his client meetings to a smaller crowd, and you know, it's like obviously it wasn't the best experience for me. You know, it's the first time speaking, but you ask for feedback, and that's really important. And then I got better, and I did larger stages, and then I did one for Simon before lockdown. You know, it was 300 or 400 people in a big venue. So, you know, you just get experience, and if you're going to speak to one person, you might as well speak to more. Yeah, winning awards again is another way to grow your profile. So sometimes you can enter yourself for awards, or sometimes you get put forward for awards. So that's something you can do as well. So connection is the start of everything. So if you think about it, everything starts with that first point of connection. So if you are creating social media content, you need to think, okay, well, how is this going to connect with my audience? How is it going to speak to them? Because you can totally scroll through your feed really quickly and not be stopped on any post, because they're all pretty, you know, the same. So connection's the start of everything. Now, the quickest way to build connection is offline, because offline is, you know, person to person, when you're in the same energy and you can read body language and all those things. It's really quick to build connection in those ways. And obviously, over the last 18 months or so, this has not been possible, and it's been very much reduced. And I think as a society, we're feeling that lack of connection and struggling with isolation and all those kind of things. And I think, you know, I work for myself, I work from home quite a lot, but I still feel at times isolated and disconnected from the world. So I think if you experience those kind of things, it's really important that you try and talk to people about your feelings and try and, you know, make more opportunities for connection. So I'm on an online course at the moment, and they do some breakout rooms. And I think to myself, oh, I don't really want to speak. But when you go into that breakout room and have a conversation, you feel much better at the end of it, because you've made that human connection. So obviously on the flip side is the online side, and it takes longer to build trust where it's online, because there's barriers to that. It's not the same as being in person, but it's better to be there than it is to it's better to be there than it is to be, you know, alone and isolated. So definitely, you know, lean into it and take that opportunity that we can do video and face-to-face nowadays, because it's a really good way to connect with people. Russell says, how do I join via laptop? What's the link? It's the same link that you've been sent in the email, I guess. So just press that link, as far as I know. One is a very lonely number. Yes, Edward, it totally is. So find someone to hang out with, even if it's just online. So this is how it works offline. Like, you meet someone, hi, I'm Claire Perry-Louise, and then you sort of share your identity. So you say, I'm a mother, or I'm an entrepreneur, or I'm a speaker. And if somebody else is a speaker, that's the way they go, oh, I'm a speaker as well. And suddenly you launch off into a conversation. And then you're looking for context, because you can see it really clearly. Like if you're just having a coffee at an event, you can just make some conversation around the biscuits or the coffee or anything like that. And timing, like how often is it appropriate to speak to people? You can read it much more when you're in the room with someone, because if someone's just about to go on stage and speak, it's not a good time to approach them. So that's kind of like how offline works. Online, it's so much less clear, because unless people have got to know you, they don't necessarily know who you are, they don't know what your identity is, what you've achieved. The context could be unclear, because you could be just commenting on a group they've never been in before, and it's just random timing. So it's all online, can be very much more difficult to build connection. That's really important. So think about social media as like, put it into the context of real life. So Facebook's a bit like, if you have a Facebook group, let's have a coffee. So a Facebook group is a place where you can build community and talk to people who've got similar tastes to you, and it's a safe space online. So it's just been like, I have, like, let's have a coffee and have a chat in here. This is an example of, you might have a favorite coffee shop, like somewhere you really like to hang out and you really like to share when you're in that place because you feel super comfortable. And this could be, for my coffee shop, my personal coffee shop would be like Instagram. Like, I really like Instagram as a platform. I don't like Snapchat or TikTok or I used to use Clubhouse quite a bit, but it used to make me feel quite anxious. So, I think people don't admit to that, but sometimes you can go on social media and feel like that you're, like not as good as everybody else. And remember that it's always a highlight reel. So the things that you share, like, I share in the presentation, things that I've achieved, but I've also cried a lot and been frustrated and, like got cross and all these things. So remember that Instagram is just a highlight reel. So it's super important that you remember that. And then there's LinkedIn as well. So LinkedIn is really much about business to business, but it's also, it's a good place if you feel like you like that platform. So don't always overwhelm yourself when you're trying to build these relationships. Find the one that you really like and share what's authentic to you on that platform. So contribution is the factor that influences whether we stay connected. So you can connect with someone and meet them, say online or offline, but if they don't contribute to your life in any way, then you're probably not going to continue that connection. So when you're networking, you are looking for signs of credibility, mindset, are they similar to you? If they're just like, oh, I'm not going to listen to this, it's boring, I'm just going to sit out in the corridor and drink coffee, and you're there because you want to grow and learn, you're probably not going to be the person, that's not going to be the person you're going to hang around. So you might be thinking things like, who's in their immediate network? And that's not because you're trying to just get into their network, but if you look at the people they hang around with, you can see whether it's a good connection worth building and whether it might contribute to your life in the future. So you also want to look at things around, and this is what people are doing with you in reverse. So that's why it's really important to build a network. It's not going to cost you money, but giving value and helping others, or if someone puts a post out there and you comment on that post and say, this has been really interesting, or share their post, it's going to build a relationship with that person, and it's going to build out your network of people you know. And so this is what I did. So when I transitioned from being a solicitor and entrepreneur, I built a network. And that has been a network that has given me leads and new job opportunities and speaking opportunities and all kinds of opportunities. And it didn't cost me money to do that. It just was about building relationships with people. So these are things that people do care about when they are in business. And as an entrepreneur, you need to care about these things. And you need to hang around the right people. So if you're investing in, so if you're going to take on someone and you want to start working with them, you should be asking these questions. So say you're going to work with me, you need to know, like, has she had any mentors? Like, or am I just making things up? Because I think that's the thing. You know, who are those mentors? So if my mentor was my daughter, for example, who is often got some wise words, to be honest, but it's not the same as if you have a mentor, say like Simon Coulson, who's made millions of pounds online and is, you know, he's done the things time and time again. And so I've spent lots of hours with Simon over the years, and some of that stuff has really rubbed off on me because I've learned from him. I've seen his systems, I see how they work, what tools do they invest in, all of those things. I really know what they are. So if you don't invest in yourself, how can you expect others to invest in you? So and consistency, like how often do they show up? Do they regularly contribute to your life? All of those things. So even if you have a friend, if they don't contribute very much to your life, and they are draining, you're not going to want to spend any more time with them. So an example, so people behind me. So I've worked with Daniel Priestley, who asked me to run his community, and he's the co-founder of Dent Global. He's written 4 books. Key Person of Influence is one of them. So he was one of my mentors for many years. He asked me to work in his business. So, that's a clear example. So you want to be doing that in your life and in your business and, connecting with people. And that relationship, for example, happened over a period of 4 years and was a result of me giving lots of value to Dent as an organisation. I used to help at their events for free and things like that. Not because I necessarily wanted a job, just because I wanted to be of service. And then when an opportunity came forward and he needed a community manager for his client community, I was the first person he thought of. Another mentor of mine is Alexi Panos. She's got thousands of followers. She's well established. She's got a lot of credibility. I've worked with her. Robbie Richmond, he taught me a lot about culture. I work with ING, etc., etc. So it's really important that you have people around you. So there's Simon, who I've worked with for a number of years. Shah as well, who I've worked with. She phoned me up once. I remember I had flu. She rang me up asking me about her membership site. So there's just a few examples of people that I've worked with. So when you are thinking about this as business owners and generating leads, you want to know, do you have a strategy to connect and contribute to your audience? Okay. So these are some of the tools. If you are thinking of a strategy, so you can generate. So what we're doing is in this presentation, we're talking about how you generate warm leads without spending any money. So here's 4 examples. So a Facebook group. You can use it to build connection. You can use a membership site as well. And a membership site is a way to build relationships over time. And it's an ongoing process. Like I said at the beginning, it super is a really long ongoing process. And a podcast, your audience might not be on Facebook. And so you can build relationships through using podcasting, because people listen to you and you're in their ears and they are developing that relationship with you over time. So, and then you could have a larger database of people. So you may have collected people's emails over a long period of time, but are you building relationships with them? Are you sending them messages regularly? Are you giving them value? So they're the kind of tools that you can use in your business. And even if you haven't started already, you could start a Facebook group, and you can do it for free. Find people who are aligned with what you want to do and build relationships with them there. So these are what I see as, the foundations that you need in your business. And you need to know this as not only as an entrepreneur, because it will guide who you connect with, but also as a business owner. So vision and mission, it's the start of everything. So if you don't know where you're going, you will never get there. And that's why it's really important that you know. So start there, like what is it you want to achieve? It's kind of a lofty kind of thing. It doesn't have to be right down to, okay, I want to get 10 followers this month. That's too niche, or it's too small a goal like that. It's like, okay, this is vision and mission. So I want to create a world where employee happiness is the norm and not the exception. That would be mine. So keep it quite lofty. You need to think about your values, like what matters to you as a business owner and what does your business stand for. So maybe it's around, if you are against cruelty to animals, like what does your business stand for? Or sustainability, how does that play out in your business and do you follow? So if you say you're a sustainable business, but that you send out packing that is it's definitely not recyclable, it's not going to be in alignment with your values. You also need to think about who your audience are. So if you know who you're talking to, then you can create the right contents for that conversation. Because if you're trying to speak to people who run marathons, but you're not speaking in their language, they're not going to connect with you. Or if you want to speak to women and you're not speaking in a way that women would connect with you, again, they're not going to resonate with your business. So it's super important that you know about things like that. And it's massively important to know where they are, because say you say, right, I'm going to build relationships now, I'm going to do it through a Facebook group, but nobody who you need to talk to is on Facebook, it's not going to work as a strategy. So really have a think about, where are your audience? So how do we create engagement using these tools? So obviously content's really important. So if you're starting out now, just start posting on Facebook, share things that highlight things you've achieved, share things that build your profile. If you've worked with people, like I was showing you, share things from that. Don't share confidential stuff, but that's a way to start doing it. So you can post consistently. That's one of the top things to do, especially when you're starting out. Like show up every day, start sharing about yourself. It's really important. Community management. So if you are thinking of growing a community, you might need to be thinking about, okay, well, how am I going to manage this community? So if you bring together a lot of people, you need to constantly feed those conversations and build that relationship until it gets to the stage that it's sustaining itself, and that's where you've got true community. So how do I create business leads from it? What value do I create? It's really, really important that you know that before you start these things. So I'm smiling for a second because look what has just arrived. Look at this. My daughter's made that. It's not Starbucks, but it's pretty cool, isn't it? I diverse, but nobody else has one of those. I can't drink it then, I'm going to get it all over my face. Anyway, that was sweet of her. So psychology, like why do people engage? What connects a community? So, do you need to change your content for different people in your community? These are the things you'd be thinking about. And all along, you want to be thinking about trust, like how do you build and deepen trust? Because that's what's super important, because over time, trust is what will make people do business with you and connect with you. So here's a couple of examples. So values, they're really, really important and they're a central pillar for all businesses. And through your values, you will build trust. So this is something Steve Jobs said, about, to me, marketing is about values. It's a complicated, noisy world, and we aren't going to get much chance to get people to remember much about us. No company is. So we have to be really clear on what we want to know, what we want them to know about us. So our customers want to know who's Apple and what is it we stand for and where do we fit in. So you need to think about who you are and what you stand for, because that's what's important. So here you see in your newsfeed, this guy, Beiju, you can see what he values. He values health. It's a snapshot. So look at your social media. What are you sharing? Because it shows so much about who you are as a person. So in terms of trust, 72% of people see online reviews in the same light as a recommendation by a friend, which is super high. And word of mouth recommendations are the primary factor in 20 to 50% of all marketing decisions. And trust, like 90% of people use online reviews to make buying decisions. But on the flip side, only 6% write reviews. So things I was saying to you earlier, it's really important, like how are you building or asking for those reviews? Because you're really going to need them. So, I've got reviews. Daniel wrote me one on Facebook, and a lot of other clients have written them. But if people write them, you need to share them, because otherwise no one's going to see them. You need to share things like who you've worked with, because that will again give you credibility. So just be collecting this stuff as you go along, because I didn't collect it, and then when I look back, I'll forget people or forget things I've done. So just collect it over time, and then you can share it. Again, Facebook, for example, I work with Facebook. They approached me because they changed their marketing and changed their whole mission statement and made it all about community. And because I've been in community for such a long time, they wanted to learn from me and other community leaders how we built community when they extended their Facebook group program. So make sure you gather assets from these events. So their assets, when I was at Facebook, that was a picture we had taken, I gathered it and I bring it to this presentation. So you need to be doing that for you and the things that you're achieving. So there's definitely work to be done. So to grow our businesses and generate consistent leads, and there's definitely a way. It's got to be organic, and you can use paid routes as well. And today, for example, Hemel's going to go into this and how we can use paid routes as well. But we don't just have to use the paid routes. So focus on building long-term relationships and building community using the right tools, whether that's a Facebook group, whether it's tapping into your database or building emails. So make core values central to your marketing, and attract more people that way. So all of those people that I showed you, and all of the brands, they came through collaborations, through referrals, and through building community. So in all my years of business, that is how I've generated leads. So it's interesting how you can get really good results without actually putting money into things. So as well. So if you haven't got a budget, don't worry, because there's other things you can do. And this is why I can teach it, because I've lived it, and this is why I know community is the key to success, because together we are definitely stronger. And the more we can collaborate with people who are similar to us and have shared values, the quicker we can reach bigger networks. So there's a really good YouTube video of a guy who starts dancing on a hillside, and he's doing this crazy dance, and he gets joined by one follower. And that follower starts copying him. And he's really the bravest person of them all, because if someone's doing crazy dance and someone follows them, it's like the first person to follow you is the one who's taking that risk. And then because the first person followed, then the next person came. And if you watch this YouTube video, suddenly the whole of this hillside is covered with people doing this crazy dance. And that started with one person and then that first follower. So if you are starting out and you've got your first follower, make sure you give them some respect, thank them for being, or if you do a course and you get one person, it's like you've got one person who's invested in you, and you can build and build from that one person. So remember that the best time to start was definitely yesterday with anything, but the second best time is today. And building up relationships is one of those methodologies that can really serve you well, because if you build relationships with one person, it might not be that they give you value back, but it might be they refer you, or value comes from somewhere else. So don't try to lead with, like, what can I get out of this relationship? Because that's really setting yourself up for failure. So start building relationships. If you're new, just start posting regularly and talking about things that are important to you, because that's how you'll connect with an aligned tribe. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. We've got Dr. Hemel coming up shortly. If you've got any questions, please let me know in the comments, and then we will move on to Hemel, and I think we're going to move on to him at 11, so we're going to have a little bit of a break in a moment. So if you've got any questions, do let me know, and yeah, and then we're going to move on, because I'm going to tell you a little bit, because we haven't got any questions, I'm going to tell you a little bit about Hemel. So excellent, thank you, Anwar, that's kind, so I'm glad you enjoyed it. So what we've got coming up is this is, yeah, pretty cool. Right, so getting views on YouTube can cost as little as 1 pence per view. Would you believe that? And the quality of the traffic is unparalleled. So if you want to scale your business online, Hemmel's going to take us step by step through his personal tactics for setting up YouTube campaigns. So this is going to be completely different to what I've been talking about, and he's going to really help you understand the YouTube and like getting quality traffic, because that's what it's really about. It's definitely about thinking of organically attracting people to you, but also doing it through paid routes as well. So I'm excited about that, which is going to start at 11. Let me just see these comments that are coming up. Thank you, Robert. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And Vera, thank you. Jancy, I'm a solicitor too, looking to transition into business as a commercial mediator, but feeling fearful. Yeah, I know, that's the thing. And I think where you feel fearful, that's where you've got to take the action. So and the hardest thing definitely is taking that first action, because inside there's all these unconscious beliefs like, what if I fail? What if no one likes my stuff? What if I'm not as good at being a mediator as I was as being a solicitor? All those kind of things. But you're not going to know if you don't try it. And the more times you fail, the more feedback you get. So I always think it's never failure, it's always feedback. So Janice, like, yes, just try it. Like, it just, you're going to have to step past that fear, and taking action can help you take that. So just do one thing in that direction. So I would say just do one thing in that. And I felt scared. Like when I said to you, when I did that speaking event, I was really scared. But over time I got less scared. And every single time you do a presentation, something will happen which you didn't quite expect. Or like in this presentation, I'd obviously opened up the wrong slide deck, and so you probably saw a few times I hadn't got the right words in my slide deck, and a couple of times it put me off. I was like, oh no, I've got the wrong slide deck, but we are where we are, and I couldn't change the slide deck, and so I just kept talking, and I paused. And also I didn't have do not disturb on, so you probably saw a WhatsApp message come in as well, and I was like, oh gosh, the WhatsApp message, and then I got my coffee. So it's just like, I'm human, like I'm just doing my best here, trying to help you on a Saturday morning. So thank you, Anmore. She says she appreciates my take on community and growth. Thank you, Anmore, that's really kind, the value I bring. Thank you. Simon says, I'm looking to move in affiliate marketing. How would this work in this market, as I will be marketing a wide range of products? Well, in that respect, when you are doing affiliate marketing, for example, one of the things to do is, if you could find partnerships for people. So if, say, for example, you had a product that Simon would align with Simon Coulson's list. Now, if you built a good relationship, so for example, I've got a good relationship with Simon because I've known him for 8 or 9 years, and we've had a working relationship all that time, and I've got to know him personally as well, because that's what it's like when you work with someone for a long time. So if I said to him, Simon, I've got this amazing product, and I'm really looking for someone to send it out to their list, he would say, well, what's the product? Okay, how much am I going to get from that? Blah, blah, blah. And if he thought it was a good product, he would send it out to his list, and so he'd get 50% of that sale. So, but that's because I have a prior relationship with Simon built up over lots of years, and the same with any of the other people I shared in this presentation. So even though you're doing a wide range of products, if you build relationships in your network with people who, in the future, they might be people who will want to help you and send out. So I think that's one way you could do it, Simon. So hopefully that's helpful. Thank you, Jerry. I'm glad you found it helpful. Jancy says, what helped you take the plunge? Well, Simon's 3-day diploma course helped me take the plunge, because I did that and I was like, this is amazing. And I was like, no, I want to be an entrepreneur. And then basically I immersed myself in it. I watched all the training videos he provided. I went to every meetup. I put myself forward for opportunities I didn't want to, like speaking. And I didn't, and then I got to this stage where I realized that there was no turning back. And I thought, I just can't go back and be a solicitor, because I felt something that I felt really passionate about. But, and yeah, so that was what made me take the plunge. And then I just kept going and going and went through all the emotions, because it's hard. It's so hard when you work for yourself and you're looking and plucking things out of the air. So that's what I did, Jancy. Thank you, Margarita, maybe. I don't know if I said it right. Marisha. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce it right. Jancy, oh, that's okay. That's pleasure. Excellent. Hemel's ready in the wings when we're ready. Thank you, Hemel. Edward says, reward can be lying and waiting over the fear fence, kind of like riding a bike. Fall off, but getting back on is the learning curve. That's totally right. That's totally right, Edward. So, yeah, just go for it. Come on, you can do it, Jancy. Definitely. I don't know what's more natural, Claire. Is it me screwing up? Because I did. Oh dear. Eve's got a hand up. So Eve's question is, I like to promote digital products as an affiliate. Where would you find people who have a ready list I can promote to? Well, you want to look at people who are, who've got a good online presence already. Have they got social media? Have they got an ad? Have they got a website? Those kind of people. And because obviously if they've got all the assets in place, they've probably got the other things in list as well. So promoting digital products, for example, someone like Simon, for example. But if you think about Simon, if you're just starting out, it's got to be a really good digital product or something different, because he partners with people who are at similar levels to him. So that's probably, just have a look what they're like. If they're online, they've got no followers or they've got no website, they're not likely to have a list as well. So that's hopefully that helps there. So Anwar said, what's my take on, I have years of experience and credibility, authority in my professional field, which is not my passion. In my areas of passion, there are so many more with more experience and credibility. What is your take or advice? Well, I would say that, I had years of experience as a solicitor, and I've got the training, I got 2 degrees, I got a diploma, I got all the things. But, in terms of my passion, which is community building and relationships, I have got certificates in it now, actually, and I have trained with the best people. But that came later. It came where where you get the experience from working with other people, and then you can share their testimonials and all of those things. And there's always going to be somebody who's further than you along. But the thing is if you were if you were teaching something about, I can't remember what it's called, but it's this special, it's what's it called? I can't remember, but these special things you can create to hold up pots so they can hang from the ceiling, and it's called a special macrame. I think it's called macrame, and it's like a special knotting. Now, if you were going to teach macrame, I'd never even heard of macrame, but you need to be one step ahead of someone behind. So I can't even remember the name. So I'm definitely behind someone. So even though there's probably world experts in doing this macrame knots that hang up these pots and things, it doesn't matter, because if I connected with you, Anwar, I was like, well, okay, well, we've got similar values, and I built a relationship with you, I'm not going to look for somebody else. So where you are passion, yes, there are other people. There's always going to be people. There's going to be other people who build communities. There are going to be other people who can teach you digital marketing. But maybe, like you resonate more with Simon for some reason than say Shah. And so that's fine. It's like losing people. So that's what I'd say about that. So don't worry about what everybody else is doing. Stay in your lane. And that, that special quote, like, don't compare your chapter 3 to somebody else's chapter 12. So passion comes and experience comes over time. So just keep going. That's what I'd say. You're welcome, Simon. Can you find me on YouTube? Well, you can find me on, I've got my own website, claireperrylouise.com. I'll put it in the comments. I am on YouTube, but it's not my platform, and I haven't updated it for ages, and it's super old, so I won't go there. I'm on Instagram, Claire Perry-Louise, as well, so I'm there as well. So I'm on LinkedIn, Claire Perry-Louise, so excellent. Let's see. Thank you, Lorna, for asking. No problems, Hazel. I didn't screw up. Thank you, Robert. You're very kind. I did screw up. I was like, oh no. Oh, thank you, Alex. It's a pleasure to see me. Thanks for the tips. About to take a few leaps. I want to know more, Alex. What are you leaping into in a few weeks? I will be back, actually. We'll be back in a few weeks. I think in June. I think it's last weekend of June, I think. I'm not quite sure. I'm glad that was helpful, Michael. No problems, Eve. Thanks, Claire. Excellent. So, I'm glad you like the answer. So we've got all these questions now. We've got 5 minutes till Hemel starts. Thank you for your time. My background is computer science. People person, is it? I'm from South Asia. How do I buy from there and sell here in Western retailers? Also focus on sustainability. Well, if people fob you off with things, what you need to focus on is, building your profile. So that's, for example, why I have my book, because it built my profile. If you share regularly, it builds your profile. If you get speaking gigs, it builds your profile. If you get interviewed on other people's podcasts who are in, say, sustainability, it builds your profile. That's what's really, really important. So, and then the other thing is if people fob you off and don't take you seriously, often there's a lot of inner work to do. So when I didn't feel as worthy of things, I would not charge people because I didn't feel worthy. Whereas I've invested tens of thousands in myself and in my mentors and in my business. And so if I charge people, or when I work with people, I charge them because it's an exchange of energy and value. So if you get fobbed off, like, do you not feel worthy yourself? Maybe, it's quite deep, but there's a lot more to all of this stuff, to entrepreneurship, and a lot of it is around mindset as well. So, if you're struggling, it's probably a mindset as well, because I see people doing things that are much, like, I'm like, that's not so great, and they're still making money because they're confident in themselves. If you create, and Stella says, if I create a Facebook community, how do I make it equal for those in it when it is my group? For example, assisting others to promote their own businesses. I don't think I answer it sort of in a minute but creating any community, you need to know why you're doing it, what's the intention behind it. So if it's a community for collaborations, you need to think out how that's going to work. What are the rules? Maybe the rules are you can only post once a week. Or you just do a day when people can promote, or you put one post a week and then stop the comments after so long so people can just promote on that day, that kind of thing. So it's about setting boundaries with anything. So hopefully that will help you think about things. So think about why you're doing it, who you want to help, and what are the rules and boundaries around that, because you don't want it to be a free-for-all. So I have a community called Like-Hearted Leaders, and I set that up. And I set out the rules. So we also have a WhatsApp group, and we meet every Friday on Zoom. But I say to people, the WhatsApp group isn't just purely for sharing links. And if people do that, I have to speak to them about it. So thank you, Varag. Thank you, Jerry and Amir and Stella. Thank you. Wow. So that brings us to the end of the comments. Thank you for your questions and your comments. And it's a pleasure to see you all. I'm going to hand you over to Hemel. So Hemel is known as a scientist and a super geek. Actually, I saw a jump of a super geek on Hemel, so I think we could get you to that. He's worked as a scientist at Cambridge, Oxford, and Imperial College in the UK. Oh, Hemel, you're putting us back now. We're like, oh my gosh, we're in the hands of Hemel. He's done all these cool things. So he's filed over 6 patents, but he's also, for his breakthroughs in breast cancer, he was awarded the Royal Society Prize and singled out for the Outstanding Research Prize at Imperial College. So when he decided to decode internet marketing, he devised some truly unique strategies online. He's been called in as an expert to work on campaigns for the likes of Stella McCartney, Gennaro, Contaldo, Jimmy Doherty, and Katie Piper. He's got a unique approach to marketing, and you don't want to miss the training. We don't, Hemel. Where are you? Show yourself.
Hello, Claire. Can you all hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you.
Wonderful. That was a wonderful talk, Claire. Thank you. Thanks for the introduction, and thank you for that talk. Funny because I've got actually I got a lot out of that session, Claire, because there's a few projects I'm personally working on where a lot of that stuff you're talking about is very relevant. Towards the end of your talk, you were touching on things like being not worthy and imposter syndrome or manifestations of that. And I think there was somebody else talking, in this industry, we hear a lot about things like fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. But another ethical way to kind of reframe that, and I was talking to Ben Brophy about this, is just simply to plant your flag in the ground, because nobody else is going to do it for you. And when you're kind of sitting there not feeling worthy, in some ways, and some of you might disagree about this, it's just another pathology of the ego. There's a lovely book I read called Ego is the Enemy by Ryan Halliday. He's the writer of that book called Obstacle is the Way. But it really just demonstrates to me, at least, how we all suffer with this. I'm Claire, you probably don't remember me, but I was one of your tutees when I first joined the Internet Business School a few years ago. And
were you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was a while back now. It was 3 years ago. So thanks for all of your trainings, actually. And,
wow, I don't remember that. But
yeah, so and I think we've all been there, right? Where we're just think we have no followers. We all got to start somewhere, and I think you just got to take the plunge. Yeah. And just remove your ego away from that, and then just go for it.
I know, definitely. Yeah. I think we could have a whole discussion about the mindset. I think it's one of the biggest pieces, isn't it?
Absolutely. I think it's 90% of the battle.
Yeah,
competence is the rest of the 10%. So no, thanks for the talk, Claire. Wonderful.
Well, thank you, Hemel. We can't see you. Did you want us to see you? Because we can't see your face.
Unfortunately, I haven't got a camera on this.
You have no camera. No.
I can't share my screen.
Can you share your screen?
I'll show you a wonderful picture of me in a minute.
I would love to see that. But it's a pleasure to have you this morning. We're all excited to learn from you.
Thank you, Claire.
One pence, and I'll be here monitoring stuff in the background and put myself on mute now. But anyway, over to you, Hemel. Thanks so much.
Thanks for the intro.
Bye.
So here we go. YouTube ads. Now, the goal of this talk is to try and, for those of you who haven't yet tried any YouTube advertising, a lot of people I speak to are often afraid about how expensive it might is. I want to try and share with you some skills that I've developed over the past few years on running, hundreds of campaigns on YouTube. And primarily to sell courses, because many of you guys who are joining the Internet Business School tend to want to promote your own online courses as coaches and trainers, but it's not limited to that. And I'll show you that in a moment. So a bit about self, Claire, thanks for the intro. So I am an official Google partner after endless multi-hour exams in Google Ads and Google Analytics. And for those of you who aren't aware, YouTube Ads is actually a part of the Google Ads ecosystem. And I've run campaigns for people like Stella McCartney, Katie Piper, Jimmy Doherty, personal campaigns for those people. And I've managed over £2.5 million worth of advertising spend, generating over, actually now it's probably more like £20 million worth of sales. And one of you mentioned, I think it was Simon, who mentioned wanting to get into affiliate marketing. Now, I can't help you in terms of going out there and speaking to people and establishing affiliate relationships, but YouTube ads is a wonderful tool for affiliate marketing in terms of the mechanical stuff. So I'll show you some tactics towards the end. But I have been ranked as the #1 UK affiliate for several multinational brands as well, global brands. Okay, so why YouTube? First of all, there are a ridiculous number of users on YouTube. It's probably is it the second biggest search engine in the world today? But for us as internet marketers, what's really attractive is the fact that we can target people with such accuracy. You can target people based on what they were looking at, what YouTube channels they're interested in, what kind of things they're searching for on YouTube, or what kind of things they searched for on YouTube last month even. So the granularity in the targeting is second to none. Um, and it's really crossing that bridge between, say, Facebook and traditional search marketing like Google Ads. That's with search marketing, you're targeting people based on what keywords they're typing into the Google search engine. Um, and Facebook's adopted a very different approach. Facebook's gone for a more audience-centric approach where we target people based on what kind of posts they like, what kind of posts they create, based on what Facebook thinks its users' interests are. And YouTube, I find, is kind of like sits in the middle somewhere, and it's the best of both worlds. And one more thing you can do with YouTube ads is that well, for those of us who are a little bit more experienced and have at least dipped our toe in the water with paid advertising, particularly with Facebook ads, some of you might be aware that it's ridiculously easy to get your account banned on Facebook at the moment. They've been put under tremendous scrutiny by US Congress for some of their activities lately. And as a result, they're being ridiculously sensitive about what kind of things you're allowed to say on YouTube, on Facebook, sorry. So with YouTube, the situation is that they're far more lenient. You can get away with, and I'm not advocating being unethical, but I do think sometimes when you're trying to sell something, you do need to push the boat out a little bit. And with YouTube ads, you can absolutely do that right now. So going back to courses for the moment. Now, if you are a course provider or you're a trainer or a coach, and maybe you haven't already got a webinar funnel set up, it's probably one of the most effective ways to scale online coaching online. And you can drive traffic, as Claire was saying, organically or however, but I want to be focusing on the particular paid channel called YouTube here. But you do need some assets, and that asset is going to be a funnel, okay? Ostensibly, it's going to be a funnel. You might choose to drive traffic directly to your website, but a webinar funnel tends to work quite well, and there's lots of evidence around this because many, many people out there are doing the same thing. Now, if you haven't got a funnel, what I'd recommend is you go out there on ClickFunnels or Kartra. There are loads of tools now out there where they will give you a template webinar funnel as soon as you sign up to their service. And you're looking at normally between $50 to $100 to join up to some of these software platforms like ClickFunnels. And when I've personally created a quick webinar template funnel, a webinar funnel using one of their templates, it takes no more than an hour to get set up. If you're worried about, very often, many of us have tried building websites and things like that in the internet marketing industry. And one of the biggest challenges I personally found when I was starting out building websites was not actually sitting there trying to add elements onto a website or this, that, or the other. Almost always it was sitting there thinking about the copy, the words that we use on our websites or funnels to do the job of selling. And there's a wonderful tool out there called funnelscripts.com. And if you join up there, what you'll find is for every kind of funnel that you can possibly think of, they've already done the website copy for you. All you have to do is fill in the blanks. So from start to finish, you can have your whole website funnel web copy built literally within half an hour. And you might need to go and edit it ever so slightly to change the tone here and there to align with some of your core values. But generally speaking, it's a great way to get started, immediately. So don't feel that if you try one of these tools out on ClickFunnels that you're going to be sitting there thinking what to say and how to sell yourself for hours and hours. There are tools that exist to help you with the website copywriting as well. So let's go through the structure of a typical webinar funnel. Typically, you're going to drive traffic somewhere and it's going to go to an opt-in page or a registration page where people can opt into your training. And once they've submitted their email address, that is a goal. You do want to try and get their email address because paid traffic can be expensive. I'm going to be sharing with you strategies today which let you do these kind of things without breaking the bank. But as soon as you can get their email address, the better. And that's true for any kind of internet marketing channel, whether it be organic as well. So we start with an advert, a YouTube advert. They go to your opt-in page or registration page. And then once they've registered for the webinar, they can land on that webinar page and watch the webinar. After they've watched the webinar, and it can be a pre-recorded webinar, so I don't think you have to sit there and, have a live webinar. You can run a pre-recorded webinar or a replay or something like that. And then after they've watched the webinar, they're able to buy your training or course. And that can even be a call, even if you haven't got a course. Many people helping with their YouTube ads at the moment, all they simply have is a webinar, which then leads to a phone call request. So you're asking people to book you for a phone call where you can get them on the phone and then try and sell them on the phone. So either way, that order form can either be book a call or it can be a simple, straightforward checkout. And once they've taken the action, after they've either booked a call with you or they've bought one of your courses or trainings, you have a thank you page. Now, this varies, of course. You might have a website, but almost always this is the typical structure of some kind of online training funnel. And in this case, we're choosing a webinar funnel. You don't have to have a webinar. You can have a sales page instead, but webinars work pretty well. Now, jumping back into YouTube for the moment, there are 4 main types of YouTube ads. So I'm going to give you, over the next few minutes, I'm going to be sharing with you, giving you a bit of an overview of the whole YouTube advertising infrastructure, I suppose. So I'm going to be focusing this talk mostly on skippable in-stream ads. Now, this is skippable in-stream ads are those adverts that you see in the beginning of a YouTube video, which you can skip after the first 5 seconds. We also have non-skippable in-stream ads. These are called bumper ads. These are adverts that you cannot skip. They tend to be around 6 seconds. And they work great for branding, but not so well for the kind of things that we're trying to do, which is sell our training. Video discovery ads are great as well, but probably, once again, not so much for selling webinar trainings. Okay, it requires a little bit more of an effort to try and get people to watch them, and you almost always have to lead with a lot more value to try and get them to convert. It tends to be driven with educational content. And then finally, we have the non-video ads, overlays and banners. These tend to be more remarketing type ads. I wouldn't recommend them to try and sell online training from the outset. So we're going to be focusing on skippable in-stream ads. And now, one of the great benefits, which most people are unaware of actually, is that you only have to pay for views that last longer than 30 seconds. Or, they've watched the entirety of your video, whichever comes first. So what that means is we can qualify traffic in the first 30 seconds. Now, you'll often find, well, I'm sure we've all seen YouTube ads, in-stream ads. And what you'll find is very often they'll start off with a statement like, if you're an online coach or a trainer, no, if you're not an online coach or a trainer, you don't want to sell your training, then skip this ad. And that's a very deliberate thing. You might think, well, why are they trying to get people to skip the ad? The reason being is because they want to qualify the traffic. They don't want people who are not in the market for selling their online trainings to watch their advert beyond 30 seconds because they're going to be charged for it. And even though YouTube ads are really cheap, you can get views for a second, views for 1p. It adds up, right? It's a numbers game. So efficiency is the name of the game. Another great thing about using skippable in-stream ads is that on desktop devices, even after people have skipped the ad, you can really try and nail your branding, because you get the option to show a companion banner on the right-hand side of the screen in the pink circle. You've got your little banner that will be showing even after they've skipped the ad. Now, jumping back a second into sort of strategic thinking. Now, with any kind of paid traffic game, and this goes not just for paid traffic actually, but for any kind of general business where you're scaling your business with funds. We're going to limit our thinking to adverts for the moment. It's attractive to think that you want to try and get your customer for as cheap as possible, and that works. You know, your profit per sale will be high, but you won't have that many sales because if you're not prepared to spend a little bit of money on trying to get a customer, you know, the higher the customer acquisition cost, okay, the more traffic you can get. Okay, Google's going to send you more traffic if you're prepared to spend more on the traffic. It's as simple as that. So you can have a situation where you're not prepared to spend too much money on a click. You're going to get little traffic, but very few sales. And even though your profit per sale is high, your total profit will be low. Conversely, if you're prepared to spend a lot more on a click or a view or whatever, you can get a lot more traffic. And more traffic means more sales, but it does mean lower profit per sale. So, but it's okay, right? Because if you've got lots and lots of sales, that aggregates into a lot of profit. So you can the point I'm trying to drive here is that you can always scale faster if you're prepared to spend more on traffic. And the fastest you can scale is by starting being prepared to spend more on traffic at break-even pricing. You know, it's the reason why supermarkets run loss-leading campaigns, because they know that once you're in the supermarket, they can sell you other stuff. And it works the same way with internet marketing. Once you have a customer, you're going to have a customer lifetime value that you can leverage. So there is a sweet spot. There is a Goldilocks point here where or peak profit, and your goal is always to get to that peak profit, that Goldilocks regime where you're spending money on traffic, just the right amount for you to get the maximum amount of profit, taking into consideration profit per sale and also total profit, right? So the way you can approach that is by either starting with a really low cost per click and not being prepared to spend too much money, and then slowly optimizing and optimizing and optimizing until you get to peak profit. Or you can start from the other end where you're prepared to spend a lot more on traffic, start with break-even pricing, and then work your way down by optimization to peak profits. And the latter approach is always faster with paid traffic. So now that's the theory. Okay, I've shown you what you need as an asset is your webinar funnel, and then the kind of overview of the approach we're going to be taking is spending a little bit of money on YouTube to try and drive the traffic into that webinar funnel. Now, what's useful to know at this stage, this is what most people don't share with you actually, is the benchmarks to aim for. Now, these are the typical benchmarks, so feel free to take notes here if you like. The average registration page, once you've got some decent traffic going into that, decent targeted traffic, the average across most webinar funnels is around 25%. So 25% of the people who land on the registration page will opt in and land on the webinar. And of the people who have watched the webinar, a good 25% of them will actually land on the order form. And of the people who land on the order form, about 5% of them typically will actually buy something or book a call. Now, book a call is actually a much, much higher conversion rate. It's more like 20%. But if they're actually having to outlay any investment, then it's normally around 5%. So armed with these benchmarks, we can go out there now and plan how much we're prepared to spend on views or clicks. So let's say we're selling something worth £1,000. We're selling an online course worth $995. Okay, that means if we're aiming for break-even pricing, then we can afford traffic that gives us an order page view that's worth $50. Because if we are spending more than $50 to get people to the order page, then we're going to be losing money. So as long as we can get people to our order page at $50 or less, we can be reasonably assured that we're going to be making money, or at least breaking even. And then we can work backwards. So now that we know we're prepared to spend $50 to get people to our order page, how much are we prepared to spend to get people to our webinar page? And then if we work backwards with 25%, it's about $12, sorry, it's $12.5 exactly. And then working backwards, now we know that we are prepared to get people to our registration page at $4 per visitor, okay? And that will get us emails for around $12. And that $4 figure is really important, because that tells us, because remember, a good proxy goal for a visitor to our registration page is a click, okay? A click, because a click leads to a visit. So, a click from our YouTube ad, that is. So we know that if we're prepared to spend $4 for a click from our YouTube campaigns, then we're going to be breaking even. Okay. Now this kind of planning is critical. Now, in the beginning, when we haven't got any data, it's okay to use the 25%, and 5% benchmarks. But eventually what we want to do is use our own data to work out exactly what those metrics are. And it might be that actually it's not 25%, it's more like 40%. And if it's 40%, that means that we can afford more than $4 to get people to our registration page, okay? And if our webinar converts not at 5%, but more like 15%, then again, we can afford even more expensive traffic. So, but when you're starting out, let's start with some conservative benchmarks like so. So, armed with this information, what we now need to do is be able to report those intra-funnel conversion rates that I just shared. And the way we do that is by creating granular conversion tracking in our funnel. And, I know this is a bit of a techie game. And if you're not prepared to go out there and learn about the techie stuff, totally, that's fine, because it does take a little bit of time to learn. But what I urge you to do is at least get someone to do it for you, okay? Don't go into any paid traffic game ever without setting up conversion tracking. Now, I've done campaigns, thousands and thousands of campaigns with so many people, and I can tell you with statistical significance that about 80% of people that I run campaigns for, or accounts that I've audited rather, didn't have any form of conversion tracking in place. That means they might as well go out there and stick an ad on a billboard out there. Okay, they're not tracking anything. They have no idea which YouTube ads are working for them. They have no idea which keywords are working for them, because they haven't set up any conversion tracking. So campaigns without granular conversion tracking will fail, because your competitors, the 20% of competitors who are making YouTube ads work for them, are using conversion tracking very, very well, and you can't compete with them. So what you want to do, as you can see, what I've done here is I've got created a conversion goal for people who've watched the video. I've created a conversion goal for people who've watched, who've registered for the webinar. Okay. I've even gone a step further and created a conversion goal for someone who's clicked on a single button. Now, you don't have to go that far, but as you get better and better, and you've got more and more data, that becomes more relevant. In the beginning, you don't want to be in a position where you're in paralysis by analysis. Data is important, but don't go overboard. Once you've created these conversion goals, you want to import these conversion goals into your Google Ads account, because we run YouTube ads from our Google Ads account. It is a Google Ads tool. But the key thing I want to drive here is be granular. Create goals for each step in that funnel, at the very least. Now, what is our primary goal? Okay, now I want to introduce the concept of a proxy goal to you. Now, if we're going to be going out there and selling a course for £1,000, especially with break-even pricing, it might cost us £1,000 to get a sale. That means to get to the point where you're able to work out what your conversion rate is with some degree of statistical significance, it might take you, 4 or 5 sales. Does that mean that we've got to spend £4,000 before we can even realize whether our campaign is worth something? The answer is no. What we can do instead is optimize for a proxy goal instead. Now, a proxy goal in this context, what I mean by a proxy goal is a goal that is indicative that somebody will buy something. And in our little funnel, a decent proxy goal to aim for in the very beginning is nothing more than a registration. So in the beginning, we can optimize for registration. When we've got some more data, we can optimize for a webinar watch. When we've got even more data, we can optimize for the proxy goal for an order page visit. And then eventually, when we've got loads of data, we can then finally optimize for a sale. But by that point, you'd have made money, so it's okay. So just to kind of recap this point, your primary goal in the beginning should be a landing page visit, okay? So just someone simply landing on the registration page. And we know we're prepared to spend $4, conservatively, $4 to make that happen. That means for a few £100, we can have enough data to work with to optimize for that proxy goal. We want to consider aiming to break even before optimizing for profit, okay? And I've introduced to you the concepts of, when your cost per click is less than your maximum permissible cost per click, we can increase the budget. So the key point here is you want to try and gather as much data as possible to establish your funnel's benchmarks. Okay, and then armed with this information, we can then go out there and work out the maximum cost per click based on your own personal data, not the benchmarks that I gave you, but for your own personal benchmarks. And then it's simple. After that, it's an iterative process. You go out there and keep optimizing to get your cost per click as low as possible. And then once you've done that, you change the optimization goal, right? So in the beginning, we're optimizing for a registration page view. Then we're optimizing for an email submission or a webinar landing page view, same thing. And then we're optimizing for an order page view, etc., etc. So I know I'm being a bit repetitive here, but I'm really going to try and drive that point because it is a bit complex, and I want you to get your head around that. And then once you've done that, keep repeating, okay, till we get to the point where you're able to optimize for sales. But by that point, you'll have made money, so it's okay. Now, that's the strategy, okay? Now, stepping back into sort of, well, let's dig a bit deeper now and start talking about the bidding strategies. Now, there's this kind of, you hear a lot of people talking about smart bidding strategies. Now, some of you may have watched YouTube trainings before in the past, and you'll hear a lot of people talking about the machine learning algorithms behind some of Google's smart bidding strategies. Effectively, what that means is Google's got an artificial intelligence engine that does the work for you, so you don't have to sit there playing around with the bids. Now, what I will say is just really avoid doing this, okay? Because for artificial intelligence to work, at least in Google's context, you need it to get to a point where you've got at least 50 conversions per month, and that will take time. Okay, so you can't jump into that in the beginning. These tools are really incredible. You can use Google Smart Bidding to handle all of the campaign for you, but you need to get to a point where you've spent lots of money and are already getting 50 conversions per month. Okay, so there is something called target CPA. So you can tell Google, I want to get sales for £30 or something, or no, I want to get emails rather for $12, as we've got in our benchmark case study here. And we can do that. We can absolutely do that. But you're not going to get that because Google's got no history about your account. Okay, until you've actually got 50 emails submitted through at least one of your historical YouTube campaigns, it doesn't have enough data to work with to be able to achieve that. Okay, so for that reason, we want to start with a simple non-smart bidding strategy, the manual bidding strategy, which is called maximum CPV. Now, I'm not going to go into a screen share with you today because there isn't enough time for me to go in there and go through all of this strategy and also show you mechanically how to do it on YouTube. You know, I might have a second webinar slot down the line in June sometime where I can show you how to do that, which will be a continuation of what we're learning today. But the key point is, what I'm trying to show you today is the strategy behind it all. Now, what you'll often find is it's very easy to go out there on YouTube and find ways to show you mechanically how to set up a YouTube campaign. That's easy, actually. You can do that on YouTube. The harder part, actually, is being familiar with some of these underlying principles, which will, you know, some of these principles which underpin a successful campaign. Now, stepping back for a moment, okay, there are two schools of thought with YouTube ads. Now, some of these YouTube ads in the at least even just 2 years ago, people used to rely on user interest, you know, targeting the placement targeting rather. You know, one of the ways that you can target people on YouTube is by making sure that your video appears on a particular placement. So for example, if I know that I want to target people who watch Tony Robbins videos, for example, on YouTube, then I'd go out there and make sure that my ad is only shown on Tony Robbins' video channel. But very recently, there's been a shift towards user-based targeting, a little bit more, you know, leaning more towards Facebook's model, where we aren't targeting particular placements on YouTube, you know, not particular channels, but targeting people, you know, behaviors and users in particular. What I mean by that is, rather than targeting particular placements on YouTube, we can instead target people based on what their interests are. Okay, and that personally I found to be very much more effective recently. Now, when you start dipping your toe in the water, the easiest ways to start is by using remarketing, and you can go out there and once you've started driving some traffic, any traffic, you know, someone who's watched your video, someone who's actually landed on your webinar, you can create remarketing ads for them. And the way we do that is by going into your Google Analytics again and creating an audience, a remarketing audience, and then you can set your YouTube campaign so that you're only showing your ads to these people. Okay, so what this allows us to do is avoid ad fatigue, because we don't want people to see the same ad over and over and over again. Imagine we've got someone who lands on the someone who's watched your webinar and is now on the fence about buying something. You know, you don't want to show them the original ad that led them to you in the first place. It's much more effective instead to show them an advert that's loaded with lots of testimonials, because that's where it's now more relevant in that particular customer's journey or potential customer's journey. So whenever you have any kind of campaign, always make sure you have a remarketing campaign, because this is where you'll find the big wins. Okay, this is the low-hanging fruit. So going back to the whole inventory versus users debate, you know, what I would say is Google tracks everything. You know, you know, you can target people, for example, who are interested in a holiday. You can target people who are interested in YouTube ads, for example. I can go out there and create a course on YouTube ads and sell it online by targeting people who Google thinks are interested in buying a YouTube ads course. You can be that specific, okay? And that kind of user-based targeting is now taking over from the old placement targeting. However, there is a place, everyone starts with placement and keyword targeting. There is a place for this. But I would kind of urge you to explore the whole user-based targeting instead. When you're first starting out, it's not the worst thing in the world to start with placement or keyword targeting, okay? But as soon as you can, start shifting to this whole user-based targeting options. Now, when you first start out, just to get some traffic, placement targeting isn't the worst place in the world. However, it does take a long time to set up, and you will almost certainly need some tools to begin with to start placement targeting. So you will need to scrape channels, videos, and things to put into your campaigns and say, Google, I want you to show my ads on these particular videos on YouTube. And you can do this for keywords as well. So, for example, when someone searches for suppose I'm selling a Facebook ads course, I can tell Google that I want my ad shown in the front of any video when someone types in the keywords Facebook ads tutorial on YouTube. Okay, so someone's searching for Facebook ads tutorial, no matter which video they watch, which my ad will be shown right at the beginning. Okay, and in the beginning that works, and it used to work for a long, long time, and it's still working today. But I'm saying as soon as you've done this, as soon as you've got some traffic with this, you want to be able to shift to the user-based targeting. And if you try this, you will need about 100 or so placements, and that will take time for you to scrape YouTube to find the best performing YouTube videos that are relevant to the kind of things that you want to put your ads in front of. And a great tool for this is something called AdZula. I know the founder quite well. I'm earning nothing from this, but you do get to try it for 7 days for £1. There are other things out there called TubeSift. It's a little bit cheaper in the long run, but it will take you half an hour to scrape the YouTube data to come up with a placement list to put your ads in front of. Whereas I personally find AdZula works within 30 seconds or a minute. So if you're prepared to spend hours and hours creating these lists, go and get TubeSift. But if you want to hurry up and get your ads going, AdZula is the best thing in the market, I think, at the moment. Now, user targeting. So once you've driven traffic to your funnel using this placement or keyword targeting approach that I've just showed you how to talked about, you want to shift to user targeting, as I mentioned. And how do we do this? So from all the traffic we've had, we can go into, say, the Google Analytics account and extract some insights from there. So now I know this is a campaign that I've run for someone. It was a personal skills course aimed at people trying to improve their career prospects. And as we can see here, we've learned with statistical significance that the kind of people who Google thinks are in the market for a job. So if you look at the second one down, employment, in market segment means Google has classified these people as someone who is looking for a job. And Google knows you're looking for a job because it's monitoring the websites you're visiting, it's scanning your emails. Google does this. It does spy on you. We know that the conversion rate for people, in our funnel, the conversion rate for people who are looking for a job is nearly 30% higher than average. We also know, weirdly, that the conversion rate for people who are looking for a used car is about 11% higher as well. So now I can go back into Google and say, I've been doing this keyword targeting and placement targeting. Thank you for this. But now I want to target people who are in the market for employment. I want to target people who are looking for a car. Now, there's no reason why I would have imagined that someone looking for a car would be the person that I want to target. But evidently, it's correlative with the people. No, it works. I can see that in this funnel that people looking for a car tend to convert better for some unknown reason. So armed with this data, we can go into the Google Ads account now and plug these audiences in and now shift towards the whole user targeting that I'm talking about. We can also go a step further, actually, and target people who are landing or interested in certain services. So, for example, I can go out there and target people who are landing on my competitor's website. So I can create a custom intent audience. And as you can see, I've just put in some things there, targeting people who are into natural foods and that kind of thing. But actually, I can put in the URLs as well of my competitors and try and steal that traffic. So someone who's landed on the sprouts.com website in the last 2 weeks, for example, is now someone who Google has tagged for me, and I can show my ad to them. Yeah. And this is a really, really powerful tool. Some of you work in business services, that kind of thing. A great strategy to use here is creating a custom intent audience. And we do this by tagging people who've landed not on our website, but on our competitors' websites. Now, somebody mentioned affiliate marketing earlier. Now, what we can do is, this is a really clever tactic, actually. We can go out there, take the video advert for our affiliate product that we're trying to promote. So, for example, I did this with a mattress company. They had a wonderful advert. And I took the URL, the video URL, so the YouTube URL for their video. I then created an advert campaign on YouTube, and I targeted people who landed on the add to basket or checkout URL of that company. So now I'm targeting people who have actually landed on the checkout page of the mattress company's website, and I'm showing them the mattress company advert. So I've created what is a de facto remarketing campaign for an affiliate product, and the conversion rate is incredible because the people who've landed on the checkout page, it's a remarketing campaign like any other. The conversion rate is going to be very, very high. So it's a fantastic tool to dip your toe in the water and generate some income, actually. Now, this goes it's a slight digression from selling your online courses and things, but if you just want to make some money, it's a wonderful tool even for that. My personal tactics in terms of user targeting is to simply go out there and target people who've watched any of my videos. Okay, these are people who are already engaged with you. So I've got a campaign running on YouTube, for example, right now, and I can target people not who have just watched any video from my channel, but also people who are similar to the people who have watched any video from my channel. So, for example, this is a little bit akin to Facebook's lookalike audiences. So if you've ever done any Facebook advertising, you know that once you've got some traffic, you can create a lookalike audience. And this is very similar to that. Google calls these people similar audiences. So you can find people that are similar to the people that who've watched any of your videos. And this, at the moment, is working really, really well for any of your campaigns. As soon as you've got some traffic with, say, placement targeting or keyword targeting, you can then create a similar audience of the people who've landed on your website or funnel, and then scale your campaign dramatically. And that works really, really well at the moment. You can also do a bit of both, right? You can layer your placement targeting above and over user-based targeting. So now here I'm saying I want to target people, for example, who have watched any of Dan Henry's videos. And one of those, Dan Henry, for those of you who don't know, is an online entrepreneur, but also people who are into digital marketing. Okay, so I want my ads shown if and only if they have watched Dan Henry's videos and they also happen to be interested in digital marketing. Okay, so that way you're getting the best of both worlds. It can be, you can get some incredibly targeted traffic here, but be careful about being too granular, because if Dan Henry hasn't got that many views on YouTube, then your audience size is going to be tiny and you're not going to be able to scale. So it works really, really well from a conversion standpoint, but in terms of scalability, it's a little bit limiting. Now, I promised you I was going to share with you some tactics for getting views really, really cheap. Now, when we first start out with our campaigns, you can see here's a campaign that I was managing for someone. They started off, when they came to me, with a cost per view of around 17p. Okay, that means it's costing them 17p to watch to have one of their videos watched on YouTube, one of their video ads. And the cost per click, by the way, here is around £17. So when I say cost per conversion there, I've created the conversion goal of someone. That's a proxy conversion goal. That's a click, basically. That's someone landing on the registration page. Now for that particular company, £17 was too much. So they came to me, and what I did was I organized their account structure a bit better. So rather than targeting everybody who they were targeting in their, say, affinity mobile audience, I've split it up into the age groups. So one really good way of organizing your accounts is by splitting by age. So here, for example, I've got one ad group for people between 18 to 24-year-olds and another one for 25 to 34-year-olds. And just by doing that, I'm now able to get views, and I've not changed anything else. I've not changed their adverts or anything, the targeting. All I've done is I've just created a bit more granularity around the way the account was structured. And you can see that the cost per view now has come down to 3p. Okay, so it's an order of magnitude cheaper. And now the cost per conversion is all of a sudden viable. It's now under that kind of $4 mark that I was talking about, or £4 mark in this case, and that's profitable for this company now. And the reason why this happens is because Google, if you give it latitude, is going to go out there and show your ad to everyone. And the group which sucks up the most ad spend is going to get the most ad spend, because Google will let it. But if you add some constraints by saying, I want a portion of my ads shown to this ad group, I want a portion of my ads shown to this ad group of this particular age group, then you're avoiding what's called that run of the market effect. So it's a little bit of a subtle concept to get your head around, but just know that by having a really granular account structure, you're able to get really cheap views on YouTube. This granularity principle applies not just to age, but also to geography. So here, for example, you can see that the cost per landing page view or conversion is, in this case, for the United States is about 11 quid. But in Ireland, it's actually only £1. So, and the reason for this, by the way, is that in the United States, there's massive variance. For example, Alaska is going to have a very different performance to California or Texas. And United Kingdom as well, for example, nearly £13 per landing page view. So when you're starting out in the beginning to get that data, I might want to exclude the United Kingdom or the United States and focus my attention on Ireland, New Zealand, or Germany, okay, where it's much, much cheaper to get a landing page view. And then I can optimize and then create interest groups and then scale out into the United States or United Kingdom, because I know that my targeting is on point. So the key point is, don't lump all your countries into one campaign, because you'll suddenly see an aggregated figure like 13 or 14 pounds per landing page view, and that's going to put you off. So you can actually dig deeper and work, and you'll see that there's a massive variance in the cost per click or cost per conversion from country to country, and then you can leverage that. So keep your campaigns as granular as possible. Okay, that kind of brings me towards the end, and I want to leave you with a few tips. So one big tip is avoid TV screens. Okay, people, because you can have your ads shown on TV screens, mobiles, tablets, and desktops. TV screens never work. Okay, or if you're a branding campaign, that's a different story. But if you're trying to sell courses, it's very difficult for someone who's watching television to click on the ad. So you'll find that people who watch your ads on TV screens, you're going to have really low performance. Also, avoid embedded YouTube videos. So that means that you want your ads shown only on YouTube, not other websites that are showing YouTube videos. So those are the two big things there. Again, you only want to target your YouTube videos, your target videos on YouTube, not the rest of the display network. I won't go into the display network now, but just know that there's a network of websites out there that will also show your videos by default if you don't add those constraints in. I showed you how you can avoid the run-of-the-market effects by segmenting your ad groups by age. And one big thing is you want to exclude kids channels, especially. Now, this is especially important if you're going down the user targeting approach, because a lot of users that you might want to target are parents, and they will often hand their devices over to their kids. And Google doesn't know if that parent's watching the YouTube videos or it's the kid. So what that means is when you're targeting by user interest groups, just make sure that you exclude kids channels, because you don't want their kids watching your videos, because they're not interested about the coaching package that you want to sell them. If somebody was to contact me, I've run campaigns for years and years now, and I've actually compiled a list of around 1,000 or so kids channels, or thereabouts, maybe 700 kids channels to exclude. And normally I find that improves my performance by about 30% on average. You also don't want to lump multiple countries into one single campaign, as I described. Again, it's going to be victim to the whole run-of-the-market effect if you did that. Some resources before I leave you all. So Adzula is wonderful when you're starting out with some placement targeting or keyword targeting. It scrapes the YouTube channels and videos to create placement lists for you. You can also make it so that it excludes foreign language YouTube channels, because you don't want to target people who are watching foreign language channels, even though they might be relevant to your niche. And then when you're starting out building your assets, building your YouTube, your funnel, your webinar funnel, you can go out there and use a tool called funnelscripts.com. Okay, it's you can really hit the ground running with your web copy, because that's, as some of you might already know, when you're building a website, that's what takes the most time, sitting there writing the copy. So that will do it for you in half an hour. And then finally, there's a tool, it used to be called bannersnap.com. They've recently changed to Creator-P, and it's a tool that I've used extensively. It's a little bit like Canva, but it's more geared towards adverts. So it's great for building companion banner templates of the type that will be of the type that I shared with you before, and that will accompany your YouTube ads. So creatorp.com. So that's the end. Got some time for Q&A, I suppose, and if you want to reach out to me to get some assistance, then those are my details. Claire, are you there? No? Okay, well, let's see if I can start answering the questions. So some questions here. Okay. Big thank you to Simon. So if you're trying to build a webinar funnel, then ClickFunnels is great, but actually there's a free one at the moment, which is phenomenal. It's called the Groove Funnels. So Simon, thanks for sharing that. So yeah, I have actually used GrooveFunnels. It's a really cool tool to use. So somebody's asked me about what's my view on the success of funnel scripts over hiring a copywriter. The problem with hiring a copywriter is that the variance in quality is huge. Now, if you've got somebody you've worked with in the past and they have got proven success, then absolutely go with that. That will always be better than a templated approach. But you know, the great thing about funnel scripts is that it is cheap. In the internet marketing industry, copywriters are among the most expensive people to hire. So if you want to get your hands, if you want to, you know, hit the ground running, funnel scripts is great for that right in the beginning. And then of course, you know, you can improve your copy down the line by hiring someone who's a professional copywriter. So that's my view on that. Okay, what else? What else do we have here? How can we attach our ad to popular YouTube videos? So yeah, what we can do, if you've got your, I mentioned a tool called Adzula, and you can filter YouTube videos by the number of YouTube views it has had. So it will basically create a placement list with, you know, you can create a placement list of really popular videos by filtering down through by the number of YouTube, by the number of views those placements have had. Somebody's asked me about getting the slides. Yes, if you send an email to support@internetbusinessschool.com, they'll supply you with the slides. Which are the best and user-friendly platforms for us to host a webinar? So I use something called EverWebinar, or Webinar Jam is great. They're all much. It's all much of a muchness which one you use. EverWebinar is pretty robust. That would be my top choice if I'm honest. EverWebinar. What else do we have? Some more questions. I sell products on Amazon. How can I use YouTube to market my products? Okay, so you can actually run lots of, I've seen lots of people running YouTube ads to sell products on Amazon. All you need to do is set up your YouTube campaigns in the way that I shared with you. And then the URL that you drive people to is simply your Amazon link. It's as simple as that. So somebody else has asked a question. Break down the method of how to reverse engineer the cost values in the funnel example. Right, that's probably a little difficult for me to go into right just for the moment. Feel free to send me an email. I can talk you through that. All you need to use is use the benchmarks that I described to break down the funnel, and you can work out based on your final sale price. You can work out the maximum permissible landing page view cost for each step in the funnel. So Marek, you've asked me about what kind of things do I use for managing the data. I actually only use Google Analytics. I find that works very, very well. You can consolidate the data from Google Ads and Google Analytics into something called Google Data Studio, which works quite nicely. Every now and again, you can log in and look at that to get an overview of all your metrics. That works really, really well. But generally speaking, if you keep all the data in the Google environment, then you can't go far wrong. Will there be a replay? I think there will be a replay, yes. And I think, and as I said, I'm happy to share the slides with you as well. And then what else do we have here? Those ads you place on YouTube are the simple videos using slides or full clips recorded with a picture. So a great place to start creating your videos, I think I've understood this question correctly, but it's a great place to start with trying to begin your YouTube videos is Animoto. Actually, Animoto give you video templates. There's also YouTube Director, is a tool that I learned about from Ben Brophy, who's big on video, and it will literally guide you through the steps on what you say at every step of the video. So that's a resource that I point you to. Okay, what else do we have here? Perhaps we could. Please could you explain why not lump multiple countries? So yeah, I mean, it's basically to avoid that run of the market effect that I described to you. Now, I'm not saying don't run campaigns in loads of countries, but what you want to do is um, have different campaigns for different countries. So, for example, there was a massive disparity in the cost per conversion between, say, the United States and Ireland. But if I had lumped all those countries in one go, I'd, you know, Google will send all of my traffic to the United States because Google knows it can make more money from me by sending traffic to the United States. So what we do instead is retain some more control over the way Google spends our money by splitting our campaigns up by country. That's all. In which case, for example, if I find that the United States is sucking up more ad budget, I can pause that campaign very easily, where it's possible, but a little bit more difficult to do so if it's all lumped into one campaign. Oh, what happened there? The video creators you referred to earlier. The video creators. I'm not sure if I did share any video creators with you earlier, Jancy, but if you want to maybe rephrase your question. Homework or assignment? Okay, good question. So a great place to start dipping your toe in the water with YouTube ads is, I've given you loads of strategies and principles. Principles are few, methods are many, as we all know. You'll go on to YouTube and find loads of methods on how to create a YouTube campaign. But what I wanted to share with the goal today was to teach you some core principles that underpin a successful campaign. So that was the goal here. In terms of homework, feel free to go out there on YouTube and find YouTube ad tutorials just to go through the mechanics of setting up a YouTube campaign. It really doesn't take long at all. You can set up a campaign in 5 minutes. If when you're first starting out, it can take 20 minutes, but either way, it's not a long time at all. How long are these AdWords certified, analytics certified, and their cost? It doesn't cost you anything to learn to become certified, but you do have to manage more than £10,000 a month in ad spend, I believe. And you also need to go out there and learn how to do it, because the exams can be pretty tricky, actually. Okay. Oh, Loom. Yeah, Loom is free. Thank you very much, David. That's all. That's all for the questions. Thank you all very, very much. That's bringing me to the end. Claire, thank you for coming back on and helping out with the Q&A.
That's okay. I was just checking what was going on. Well done. That was an amazing session. I think you got some great questions as well. Everyone wants you to come back as well. Come back and do more.
Oh, brilliant. Sadly, you couldn't see me. Well, I'm not quite as good looking as Claire, but you did see a picture of the suave Hemel earlier on in the presentation. So there you go.
I don't know about that. We want to see you next time.
Thank you all. Thank you.
You're in bed, aren't you? That's where you are.
I'm sorry, what was that, Claire?
You're in bed. That's why.
Lockdown Hemel, yeah.
Lockdown Hemel, or your hair's too long or something.
I've lost it all. There you go.
So, well, this is coming to the end of Saturday School. Though I did just search because Georgina asked a question. I found this whole Q&A section. So Georgina searched, she still seemed to be here, saying, how much time would you consider reasonable to spend on social media each day? Do you outsource all the content building? Well, I think we could probably both answer this one, can't we, Hemel?
Yeah, could you just rephrase that question? I was a bit of a blip on my speaker there.
It was, how much time would you consider reasonable to spend on social media each day, and do you outsource all the content building? So I think that was from earlier on the question. I think it's probably from my presentation.
Yeah, okay. Do you want to answer that? And I'll dip in as well.
Well, I mean, how much is reasonable? I mean, I think if you don't want it to be a time suck, you need to set yourself something each day, like 15 minutes a day to engage or that kind of thing. You can create content in advance that can reduce your time on social media. I don't know if I've got a definitive answer, to be honest. I mean, if you are really, getting leads and things from social media and you're spending an hour on there, then that's reasonable. But if you're just being sucked into other people's content, then really it's not a good use of your time. So
it's a dangerous thing to get sucked into. Yeah, social media. I totally appreciate the question. I think, and Claire, let me know what you think about this. As soon as you find it's working, you can kind of step away a little bit. That's true for most things. In the beginning, when you're learning the nuances behind using that channel effectively, it will take some time, like with most things. But as soon as you start to get a feel for what to say, how to say it, and you can develop your own little system, at that point, maybe it is worthwhile hiring a social media expert to handle it for you, so you can step away from it.
Yeah.
But I think I second what you said, actually, Claire. And it's consistency with social media, at least in my experience, is more important than going in there and spending 5 hours in one week in one day, right?
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes you can learn, people say, right, you need to be showing 5 times a day, 5 posts, etc., etc. I don't think that's true at all. I think, it can depend on what you're doing. It can depend on the value of what you're putting out there each time.
Mm.
In terms of outsourcing, like I do have a virtual assistant and I can get her to do stuff for me as well. But, I prefer to do my own. And I've always been like that, really. I'm not really a planner, but, like maybe you should plan some content and then have that, drip feeding out, set it up in advance, because then it takes the pressure off you having to think of stuff all the time. So, I don't know. I just think it works different for everybody and everyone's got a different answer. So that would be my take on that. So yeah, I think we've covered that. And yeah, and Stella said, I wonder about how to foster community and sell, promote your business too. I think the thing is with that, Stella, is if you've got a community and you're trying to build a community, you obviously don't start with your first posts about selling and promoting stuff as well. I mean, you need to think about why you're going to build a community and, why you want to, bring people together. Because like I was saying earlier, there's a difference between creating community and having an audience. Because an audience is just around brand awareness and getting to know people, and community is where you've got shared identity and you feel that sense of belonging. So, and if you think about your friends, you want to naturally promote them anyway, and that's pretty much like community building is. So the more you build relationships, the more easier it's going to be that people are going to look to you and want to buy from you or want to refer you, and etc., etc. So, but building community is, like a 3-day course that I've not created yet. So that's that one. So hopefully that's helpful. I'm glad you're still here, Stella. Sorry I didn't say it earlier. I think that kind of brings us to the end, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, I think we're good. I think if anybody wants anything else from us, we have got a little bit of time. How about you sped through it today?
Oh, what time does it normally end, Claire, on the Saturday school?
Quite often until 12:30. You see.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so we're here for you all. If you need anything else,
we're here. So Q&A, yeah.
Q&A. Well, the first poll is, where is Hemel at the moment? That's what the poll is, isn't it?
Where is Hemel? I'm actually in the office, believe it or not.
Oh yeah. You're in your bedroom, aren't you? So anyway, we're getting some good feedback. That's a pleasure, Abigail, Marius. I like that, one day or day one. Oh, can you read that? Oh yeah, you can read the stuff in the background. That's my little postcard. It just says, one day, that's it, or day one, you decide. That's like the motto for Saturday school. So if you've been here today, you need to leave saying one day or day one, today's your day one. Put in place something that Hemel shared with you today, or something I've shared, because that's how you make, progress, by putting in, not just listening to us, just doing something. So definitely take something away from today and put it in action. That would be my advice. Have you got any advice before we go, Hemel?
Only to sort of build on what you were talking about when you were closing your original session, Claire. I think it goes back to being not worthy and this, that, or the other. There's a lot to be said for being a little bit scrappy in the beginning, being prepared to actually win, just doing what it takes, turning up to some of these things, the opportunities that, we've both, you and I, have done for the Internet Business School, for example, when we first started out. I think you do need to be a little bit scrappy in the beginning when you haven't got any followers and any credentials and anything you can point to as a testimonial.
Yeah, definitely. And have you got experience, I'm sure you have, of where you felt fearful of stuff? This came up as a question earlier. Like, how do you step into that fear and get over it? Like, have you got any advice around that?
Yeah, I think I touched on it earlier. I think, and I don't mean to get so metaphysical, but I think trying to be mindful of what's going on in my head. Why am I feeling this unworthiness? Um, and kind of accepting that it's just a pathology of the ego again,
Yeah.
and just casting that aside and just being a little bit cerebral about it,
Mm.
and not entertaining the ego for the time being, and just doing what needs to be done at a very practical, pragmatic level.
Yeah. I feel like we could do a whole session together, Hemel, on some deeper things here. I feel like we're both touching on it.
I like it. Yeah, I really do believe. I mean, yes, I am a bit of a techie, but I do believe that mindset is 1000%. The dominant factor in, and in trying to win in entrepreneurship.
Yeah, definitely. And who you surround yourself with, and kind of their thinkings as well. It's so important because that really rubs off on you, and that's why it's good to be around people. So, um, yes, excellent. Thank you, Jancy. I'm glad you like that saying. Thanks, Simon, Helen, and Claire. Simon's probably like just chilling out in his hot tub, isn't he?
Yeah, you know it.
You're thanking him. You're thanking him for bringing us here. That's good.
Oh, Lorena just mentioned, Hemel, it's not about ego or scrappy. Sometimes people judge based on your appearance. They do. And, and I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe that just works for me. That's my personal process. You did ask me what I think. That's just how I have managed it,
Yeah.
because we've all felt it. Whenever we're stepping into an opportunity to grow into that we consider a little bit beyond ourselves, there is that fear, isn't there, of unworthiness.
Definitely, and also, unfortunately, we do live in this society. Like we all get judged, and it's harder for some people than it is for others. And there's always some kind of bias going on. But equally, if they're not your people, if they're your people, they will align with you and listen to what you've got to say. And that's some of the wonderful things about the fact that you can reach so many people online. So people who aren't judging you on their appearance will, like, you can find your people online, and if someone doesn't like you, that's brilliant, because it means it's one less person who's not aligned with you, because ultimately people do business with people they're aligned with. So yeah, I mean, it's about, and the thing, that's what I always say as well, like, don't listen to a word we say, because this is only our experience. It's like you've got to get your own feedback, because we're not like messiahs or anything. We're just sharing from our experience and giving our what's worked for us, so things will work for different people. So
Yeah, I think also, I was just going to say something. It was actually with my tongue, and I've got a blank head now.
that's okay. But we've got this other thing as well. We've got a little question here. It says, on YouTube ad tutorials,
Oh yeah.
are there any PDFs for beginners to download?
I haven't prepared anything, guys. I'm sorry. No, there's nothing I can give you. I would honestly urge you to. I'll give you. There will be a replay, I imagine,
Yeah, there
for
is.
this
It'll go
video.
by email to you.
But the slides. But I think somebody asked if they can get the slides, so maybe that can serve as your PDF. I can get you the slides if you just email the Internet Business School,
Yes.
And then they'll send you out the slides.
I think what happens is my talk, because I'm first, goes on the YouTube channel, and then Hemel, because you're second, I think you go on the email list. I think that's the deal. So
Okay.
that's how it works, apparently. I think you are the one. I'm just like the sidekick. I don't get on the email list.
Someone's asked about targeting the right audience for a 3-minute pop song video. Yes, I can help with that. Actually, I helped Simon get to Spotify charts with his latest videos. So when we were getting 1p views, actually, and the big win for there, David, was actually excluding TV screens. It works great for getting views, of course, but in terms of getting them to take action and get onto Spotify, they weren't able to do that from the television screen. So we avoided TV screens. And also what worked really well was targeting. So specifically for music, the granularity with which you can target music lovers is incredible on YouTube. You can target people who are into all kinds of genres and that kind of thing. So if you're into the kind of Coldplay type of music, you can target people who are watching Coldplay type things and that kind of thing. So yeah, the granularity with targeting, I haven't had time to go into a screen share to show you, but you get a list of all different types of music you can target on YouTube viewers. So I hope that helps, David.
Excellent. Right, well, we've answered everything. We've gone into mindset. We've done everything. Have you got any YouTube videos of these subjects, Emil?
Have I got any YouTube videos of these subjects? I haven't, no, Claire. Interestingly, I haven't got a YouTube channel myself. Or I do, but it's for personal friends and family things only, really. But I don't, yeah.
That's Michael's question. He was just asking you if you've got those. So.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I haven't got any YouTube tutorials. I haven't actually tried to grow a YouTube following. Internet marketing is great for me. It's fantastic. But it's not my main thing. You know, I do other things, as some of you guys already mentioned, with the whole breast cancer research thing. So I just enjoy.
That's amazing. So
well, I just enjoy dipping into internet marketing because actually it earns better, and you know we all have responsibilities with families and things like that to feed. So
excellent. Wow, I think we've answered all the questions. We've gone into various topics, and I think it's time for us all to leave Saturday school and go and do whatever we're going to do on a Saturday. So thank you so much, Hemel. That was brilliant.
Awesome, Claire. Thanks again.
I'm here with you. Everybody else, thanks for being here. I will see you the last weekend of next month. That's when I'm back. Hemel will no doubt be back sometime as well. Hope so. And do you know when you're back, Hemel?
I don't yet. No. Probably sometime in June, I think.
So we might be the same, but I don't know. So everybody have a lovely weekend. Well done for being here. Staying to the end, you get a special award for that. We'll give you a special award for being here at the end and take something away, like I said. And we will see you, we'll see you next Saturday. So we'll have another slot on next Saturday. Watch out for the email this week. And look forward to seeing you then. So take care, everyone. Bye.
Awesome stuff. Take care, guys. Have a great weekend. See you, Claire.
Bye.